So we're here today at a Tesla Supercharger with this Foundation Series dual motor Tesla Cybertruck. It's only got about 2,000 miles on it, and I just completed the Inside EV 70-mile-an-hour highway range test. This guy went 302 miles and used 120 kilowatt-hour. At least that's what was displayed in the vehicle. Now, according to the EPA documents, this is supposed to have 123 kilowatt-hour battery pack. So there might have been a couple kilowatt hours left in there, but I wasn't going to take any chances. I already drove it about 3 miles past zero, and I wasn't going to run out and need a tow. But that's not why we're here today. We're here today because, yes, I just finished the range test, but now I'm going to do a full 0 to 100% charge on a Tesla V3 Supercharger. We're going to make our charts. We're going to take a look and see just how good the Tesla Cybertruck charges on a V3 Tesla Supercharger. All right, before we jump into the recording of the supercharging session, just want to talk a little bit about the Cybertruck and its charging capabilities. The Cybertruck is Tesla's first vehicle with an 800-volt battery system. Tesla's supercharger network is based on a 400-volt system. It can actually go up to about 500 volts, but we typically call systems either 400-volt or 800-volt, even though some of the systems are a little bit higher, a little bit lower. Like the Lucid Air, for instance, is over 900 volts, but a lot of people refer to it as an 800-volt battery system. I'm not sure how that started, but that's what people talk about. So for the Tesla Cybertruck to charge on a 400-volt DC fast charging system like the supercharger network, what it does is it splits the battery pack basically into 2 packs and charges each one at the 400 volts, well, roughly 400 volts. It actually, when the state of charge is very low, it's down, I think, 320, 330, somewhere around there. And when the pack's completely full, it goes above 400 volts. So in order to fully charge the Cybertruck at its maximum capability, you should be on an 800-volt DC fast charger, which the superchargers aren't. I charged the vehicle on a V3 supercharger system. Tesla was supposed to come out with their V4 superchargers. There's actually a couple of them in the ground now. However, they use V3 power cabinets, so they're not 800-volt charging sites. But there are 800-volt charging sites out there, 1,000-volt sites, Electrify America, EVgo. So a friend of mine, Kyle Connor, he runs the Out of Spec family of YouTube channels. I'm sure you've probably heard of him. We have a lot of cross-pollination. Kyle bought a Cybertruck. He has the Tri-Motor, the Cyber Beast, and he's done a bunch of charging with it, and he's actually charged it on the Electrify America and EVgo charging networks. He was able to pull 330 kilowatts for a short period of time from an Electrify America DC fast charger. So the Cybertruck will charge faster on an Electrify America site than it will on the Tesla supercharging network. However, there's some issues with that because the way the Cybertruck's fender plastic pieces are, it doesn't allow you to use the adapter to plug in the CCS to Tesla adapter. So Kyle has to remove the plastic fender trim. There's another way to do it with like this Rube Goldberg of different adapters. Use 2 different adapters. It's totally not safe because they're not designed for that much power to pass through them, but there is a way to get around it. But if you are a Cybertruck owner, some companies now are going to be making the adapters, the CCS1 to Tesla adapters with a longer extension piece on it so that you'll be able to use it on CCS stations like Electrify America and EVgo and charge your Cybertruck without having to remove your plastic fender flares. So that's good. It's coming. I know A to Z is working on one. They're going to have one really soon. But I just want to explain that a little bit because while I did this recording on the V3 Tesla Supercharger, it's not the fastest that the Cybertruck can charge at. You currently, if you really wanted the fastest, you have to go outside of the Tesla supercharger network and charge it on Electrify America or one of the other DC fast charging networks that can deliver 1,000-volt systems. But anyway, I just wanted to clarify that. What we're doing here now is I'm analyzing how well the Cybertruck will charge on a Tesla V3 supercharger. As a matter of fact, it would charge the same on one of the few V4 superchargers that Tesla has in the ground today because they're basically, the cabinets are the same as the V3, so it can't deliver more power. With that said, Let's jump into the full recording, 0 to 100%. We'll take a look at how that went, and then we'll go through the charts and graphs that I always do, and we'll see just how well the Cybertruck charges on a V3 Supercharger. State of Charge is powered by Qmerit. After I've helped you decide which electric vehicle charging equipment you're going to buy, follow the link in the description of my videos and let the EV charging installation professionals at Qmerit install it. As soon as the Cybertruck starts charging, the charging rate shoots up and reaches 250 kilowatts in 1 minute and 20 seconds. However, it only holds the 250 kilowatt for about 4 minutes before it starts ramping down the charging rate. After 10 minutes, the Cybertruck is at 27% state of charge, and it's now drawing 217 kilowatts, which is still pretty good. But then after 20 minutes, we're at 48% state of charge, and it's now taking in 131 kilowatt. After a half an hour of charging, the Cybertruck is at 63% state of charge and was only charging at 93 kilowatt. And that's pretty bad for an EV with a 123 kilowatt hour battery pack and under 65% state of charge. Now, after 40 minutes of charging, the Cybertruck is at 73% state of charge, and it's now only accepting a paltry 77 kilowatt. 10 minutes later, the Cybertruck has added another 10% state of charge, and we're now at 83% state of charge. But the charging rate has crept up a little, and we're now taking in 81 kilowatt. At the 1 hour mark, the Cybertruck reached 92% state of charge. And from there, it took another 12 minutes to reach 99% state of charge, and then another 13 minutes to go from 99% to 100% as the Cybertruck was gradually balancing off all of the battery cells. Next up, we're going to take a look at the charging power chart and also the time to charge chart. It's one thing to look at the recording in time lapse, but it's another thing to put the numbers on paper, and you could really tell how well an electric vehicle charges. First up, let's take a look at the charging curve, which is on the charging power chart. So you can see here in the beginning where the Cybertruck shot right up to 250 kilowatt in a little more than 1 minute, but it only held that for 4 minutes before dropping down to about 222 kilowatt and holding that until the 30% state of charge point. Now, the interesting thing is I've had Cybertruck owners tell me that they witnessed their vehicle hold the full 250 kilowatt up to the 30% point before dropping off, and in which case the charging curve would look like this. And it would probably shave off about 1 minute of the charging session compared to what I witnessed. That's because this period here is only 5 minutes long, and 5 minutes of charging at an additional 27 kilowatt is only going to add 2 more kilowatt hour in that period. So it really wouldn't have made that much of a difference. It would look nicer on the charging curve, but in reality, you might be 1 minute less in your charging session. Okay, so from there, the Cybertruck has this long, gradual drop in charging rate until it reaches the 67% state of charge point and is now only charging at 77 kilowatt. That's really not good for 67% state of charge. And it holds that until 80%. And then the charging rate gradually creeps up a little bit to 81 kilowatt. But once it reaches 85% state of charge, see here, it drops off here gradually until 99% state of charge. And then it begins the final descent while balancing off the cells to end the charging session. I really think Tesla could pump a lot more power into this pack. It's a big pack, 123 kilowatt hour, up until the 75 or 80% state of charge point. If the charging curve looked a little bit more like this and held, let's say, 180 kilowatt up to the 80% state of charge point, now it'd probably charge from 10% to 80% in about 30 minutes. During my charging session, it took 42 minutes to go from 10% to 80%. And while that's not terrible, it is a little long for road tripping. And next up, let's take a look at the time to charge chart. With this chart, it helps you figure out how many miles of driving range you're going to add over a certain period of time. All right, so here on the time to charge chart, you can see on the x-axis, it's the charge time in minutes, and on the y-axis, it's the state of charge. Now I break it up into 10-minute intervals and explain how much state of charge was added in that 10 minutes and also how much range was added, both according to the EPA range rating and also my 70-mile-an-hour highway range test, in which I went 302 miles with this vehicle. That video is up on the Inside EVs YouTube channel. Okay, so in the first 10 minutes of charging, you can see here I added 28% state of charge. That's really good because we were pulling more than 200 kilowatt for that whole time. And according to the EPA range, I added 89 miles. With my 70-mile-an-hour highway range test, that would equate to 85 miles of driving range added in only 10 minutes. That's pretty good. But it goes downhill from here, as it always does with electric vehicles. The higher the state of charge, the slower they charge. Okay, so in the second, from 10 minutes to the 20-minute mark, I added 21% state of charge, which is 67 miles according to the EPA rating and 63 miles according to my range test. Now, in the next 10 minutes of charging, from the 20-minute mark to the 30-minute mark, we added 15% state of charge, which is 48 miles EPA and 45 miles according to my 70-mile-an-hour highway range test. The next 10 minutes, from 30 minutes to 40 minutes, now we're down to only 10% state of charge. And that's really where the Cybertruck started to disappoint me. After only 30 minutes of charging, we're really at a low charging rate. And that's 32 EPA and 30 miles according to my range test. From 40 minutes to 50 minutes, we added another 10% state of charge, 32 miles again, and 30 miles according to my test. And from 50 minutes to the 1 hour mark, we added 8% state of charge, which is 25 miles, 24 miles according to my test, about the same. That's not really surprising because now we're up at around 90% state of charge, and all EVs charge slowly. And after there, it took 25 minutes from the 1 hour mark to top off that last 8% state of charge, which again adds 25 miles EPA and 24 miles according to my range test. In all, it took 1 hour and 25 minutes to fully charge a Cybertruck from 0 to 100%. Now, you're not going to do that as an owner with any EV. Almost never would somebody do a complete charging session from 0 to 100%. Typical road trips would mean you'd stop, 5 to 10% state of charge and charge up to 80, 85% state of charge. And with the Cybertruck, if you're at a V3 Supercharger, you got to expect to spend about 45 minutes or so to do that. And quite honestly, when you compare it to some of the other vehicles out there, it really is not anything special. I expected the Cybertruck to charge much better than this, and unfortunately, it really doesn't charge that well, at least at launch. Now, Tesla can do software updates and massage the charging curve, but currently, when you're charging on Tesla Superchargers, which are 400-volt systems, the Cybertruck is not a great charging electric vehicle. Eventually, if Tesla comes out with the V4 stations that are 1,000 volt, the Cybertruck has the opportunity to charge much faster, but they don't exist right now. So, we can't really talk much about what you can't do. And right now, when you're using the supercharger network, Cybertruck is not a very good charging electric vehicle for long road trips. All right, so as I mentioned, I'm a little surprised and a little disappointed in the Cybertruck's DC fast charging capability. Part of that is because we're just used to Tesla putting out really good charging electric vehicles. One of the things Tesla has been so good at, and with the exception of maybe some of the Model Ys with certain battery packs, most Teslas charge really well on DC fast chargers. So I was really hoping the Cybertruck would do better. That said, the Cybertruck can charge faster. The problem is we just don't have the infrastructure for it to charge faster. I mentioned earlier that my friend Kyle was able to pull over 300 kilowatts on an Electrify America DC fast charger, but in order for him to do that, he had to use a combination of adapters that aren't rated to accept that power. So I'm not going to talk a lot about that. I'm not going to, encourage people to do that. Now, an adapter is coming out soon, and I mentioned it in the video. A to Z adapters, they make all different types of adapters, is coming out with a CCS to NACS adapter specifically for the Cybertruck. And the reason why there's a problem is because of the way the Cybertruck's plastic fender flares protrude. You can't get a regular CCS adapter to plug in. Here's a regular CCS to NACS adapter. This plugs into the Tesla vehicle, and the CCS connector plugs into here. But because the fender flare is so wide, this isn't long enough. So A to Z is making the same adapter as this, except this is going to be about an inch or a little bit longer than an inch longer. It'll allow you to use non-Tesla superchargers, DC fast chargers, which there's plenty of them out there now, that can deliver up to 1,000 volts, and the Cybertruck will charge faster. As soon as that adapter is ready, A to Z is going to ship me one. Even before they go on sale, I'll get a hold of another Cybertruck and I'll do some testing and recording. We'll do a follow-up video on that. But for now, this video pretty much represents what the average Tesla Cybertruck owner is going to be able to charge the vehicle at when they're at V3 Tesla Superchargers. That's pretty representative of what you're going to find. I went on the internet, I looked at some other people that put out some recordings, and other than the first 5 minutes holding the 250 kilowatt a little bit higher, the rest of the charging curve looks pretty identical to what I have. So this is it. 0 to 80% in about 46 minutes. That's not great. It is better than, let's say, the Ford F-150 Lightning, which I own, and the Rivian R1T, which I used to own and sold. Both of those vehicles take about 51, 52 minutes, somewhere around there, to charge from 0 to 80%. So the Cybertruck actually beats those two vehicles from 0 to 80%. Now, they do have bigger battery packs. The Cybertruck has 123 kilowatt hour usable. The Rivian R1T is about 128. The Ford F-150 Lightning's about 131. So they should take a little bit longer. The battery packs are bigger, but the Cybertruck is also more efficient and it can go further on less energy. So the Cybertruck does charge better than those two vehicles, but they've been on the market for 2 years. The Cybertruck should charge better than them. Let's compare it to, let's say, the latest electric truck, the Chevy Silverado EV. And the Silverado EV charges much better than the Cybertruck does. I haven't had a chance to do full charge recordings. I'm going to do those soon, but I have seen some of the other people doing charge recordings on them, and charges like a monster. The Chevy Silverado has an enormous 200 kilowatt hour battery pack, so it should be able to take in a lot of power for a long period of time. It also has an extraordinary range, 450 miles or so. So it goes further and charges faster than the Cybertruck, the Silverado, and that's really the EV truck that you should be comparing the Cybertruck to, because they're both getting launched about the same time. You could argue that the Lightning and the Rivian are old tech because they're more than 2 years old, those vehicles, and Cybertruck should charge faster than them. So this is what we have for now. And as I said, as soon as I can get a hold of that new Cybertruck adapter, I'll do a follow-up video recording it on a 1,000-volt DC fast charger. We'll see just how much faster it charges. Now, I don't think it's going to charge that much faster because I think we're going to get all that extra power up front loaded up in the beginning. And yes, the charging curve should be a little bit higher for the rest of the charge also, but I don't think it's going to be anything remarkable. I could be wrong. The 0 to 80%, as I said, was 46 minutes. If it could shave it down to 40 minutes, that would be great. I don't think it's going to do much better than that. I hope it does. I'd love to see the vehicle get to 80% in 30 minutes or less. I don't think that's going to happen. But as I said, Tesla can do OTA updates and improve that charging curve. If the engineers there decide that the vehicle can take more power for a more sustained period of time, they could have just been very conservative when they launched it, and they're monitoring the packs and seeing how they're charging and how the cells are doing with higher rates of charge, and perhaps they can improve that charging curve. They've done it before. Other electric vehicle manufacturers have done that with updates and improved the DC fast charging, but the Cybertruck's a little disappointing to me at launch. I really thought it was going to charge much better than that. But it is what it is, and we'll keep an eye on it, and we'll update this video when new Cybertruck charging news hits. Listen, if this is your first time here at State of Charge, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news and reviews. And as always, thanks for watching.